I am an associated member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Position disclosure there are some updates to it, mainly some trades that are meant to be shorter term, intraday, or maybe small overnight swings. Nothing too crazy. But yep, it's the update. All right. So wow, really bullish day. The bulls are really gobbling up this market, if you know what I'm saying. SPYs are up a percentage point on the day. Qs are up 0.6 on the day. They're relatively weak because NVIDIA and AMD got smoked. The IWM is up 2.2% on the day. What else? TLT is up 0.3. The dollar is down about 0.3% or so that helps the market out a bit as well. Bitcoin, interesting that it's down today given just how strong the market was. So Bitcoin down 2.25%, Ethereum down 1.5%, Solana down 1%. So Bitcoin actually the worst of those three crypto ETFs that I typically look at, which is interesting. It's usually not the worst. It's usually a little less beta than Ethereum and Solana. And also when the market's up this big, you would expect that those things would be up a little bit today as well. But crypto is certainly in a bear market, while the stock market itself is most certainly not. Intraday chart here was actually pretty interesting. Today felt so strong that you almost forget about this really early weakness that we had for 10 minutes, especially when you're looking at the Qs. Qs were relatively weak all day. They're relatively weak off the open. They gapped down and they got smoked for 10 minutes here or so. I mean, we really extended to the downside into this move. I came into the day short the Qs. I fully covered my QQQ short into this down move. I flipped long into this down move, caught the snapback to equilibrium, liquidated my long, and then eventually started to slowly kind of build back into my QQQ short, and never got too big, and just kind of managing a position that's a little bit smaller on that. The IWM is the most extended, but the Qs are a little bit more relatively weak, so we'll see how that ends up playing out. Beyond that, we had a couple pretty good short call outs, particularly into here. Market started to really accelerate higher and then accelerated outside of that acceleration to the upside. That's a signal that I do like to look for shorts. Even this trend was already accelerated. Usually I prefer if it's like a 45-degree angle uptrend. This is even more than that. And then that breaks to the upside. A lot of times that becomes unsustainable, especially usually at this time of the day. Basically 12:30 in the afternoon here. Usually things are pretty slow. Liquidity definitely felt a little bit light at various points. Throughout the day today. Then you got this little bit of a shooting star doji type of candle on the 5-minute that led to a pretty good pullback. So that was an okay trade. Didn't really lead to anything more than a 15-minute correction. I reshorted this pullback, this bounce back, and that worked also. And then we just clobbered right through new highs into the close. So I actually thought that at the index level, we had a bunch of pretty good call outs just in terms of timing of execution. They didn't always work extremely well, but I think all those calls worked out pretty darn well. Especially, we called the low of the day on the long side, so that was pretty good. What else? Sorry, I got distracted by something on my other screen. So that's at the index level on the small time frame. So let's take a look at the big time frame. So the SPYs now have basically negated Thursday's down day, which I would have argued from the beginning that Thursday's down day never should have happened. So not really surprised to see that. But we are now beginning to really fully confirm more bullish technicals, getting above 275. Again, I think 280 is your bigger confirmation spot on full-on bullishness of this market. But now I would say we've turned, if you want to go back to that bullish-bearish neutral game that I like to play, it keeps changing a lot recently, and now we're probably back into like neutral bullish territory. and it's definitely bullish to negate this high volume negative Maribozu. I mean, this was a really, really nasty trading session the day after NVIDIA. So it took us 3 trading sessions to negate a historically bad day. That's just been status quo for the year 2025, at least since the April low. So I'm not surprised to see us going out strong here. And I've been saying almost every day recently, like even this morning and yesterday morning, both of those days, we had already snapped back pretty decently into this more equilibrium zone for the market, more neutral area technically, more of the midpoint of a range. But I keep saying, let's err to the side of being long. You know, you can take your more day trade shorts off of extension or whatever when you get your little signals in there. But for anything bigger picture, a little bit tricky to execute. But if you're going to do anything, you're probably better off on the long side of the market than the short side of the market. So that's just been kind of the focus, and I think that bigger picture focus has been working out as the market shows its strength. That's the SPYs. Qs, again, a little relatively weak, have not yet fully negated Thursday. That's primarily because, wow, NVIDIA today. NVIDIA traded below 170 really briefly. I didn't trade NVIDIA at all today. I briefly scalped AMD long, kind of near lows when NVIDIA was trading back through 170. But I didn't trade NVIDIA at all. We actually had called out the short in this yesterday. So if anybody was able to maintain that short, you got rewarded for it, because it was relatively weak yesterday, even though it closed well, and then obviously got smoked in the beginning of the day. But it's incredible just how much the market's up today, considering that NVIDIA still, even with bouncing back $7, $8 from lows, is still down 3% on the day. AMD still down like 5% on the day. So, you know, kind of nasty from a couple of our leading semiconductors. But obviously it's led to rotation in other areas. First of all, the IWM really strong, RSP really strong, but even some rotation within semiconductors to like an AVGO. You know, I had a little bit of a very, very small AVGO overnight last night. I added to it pretty decently into the initial gap up. I think it was shorting above I think I got like 394, 395 as a price pre-market, and you know, fully liquidated that position in the down move. Again, just trying to focus on some more singles and doubles. Oh, I should mention before I forget, there will be no afternoon meeting tomorrow, just because it's the Wednesday before the holiday. There will be no afternoon meeting on Friday, because we never do an afternoon meeting on Friday, and then I am out all of next week. So hopefully the guys are going to help take over some of the meetings, but if you listen in on the YouTube, there's probably a lower probability of every day being streamed on the YouTube. So apologies for that in advance, and hopefully someone's available on most of these days next week to do morning meeting, afternoon meeting between Pat, Josh, and Brant. But whatever, your problem, not mine. I'll be away. No, we're gonna obviously try to take care of that for you guys as best as we can. What else? I'm trying to think if there was anything else really to talk about. I mean, just interesting to see NVIDIA and AMD so weak and the market able to be as strong as it was. We said in the morning meeting today that the way AVGO goes, the way Google goes, and the way NVIDIA goes will probably dictate the market, and that was pretty accurate. Google, you know, super strong. My favorite long to have right now. I've been saying that for a while, but also getting really extended to the point where I actually put a very quick scalp short on this one as well at a certain point. Made a couple of dollars, got out of the way. I'm trying to think if I have anything else even to talk about. Yeah, it's interesting how weak crypto still is to have a red day today. This thing, like, I feel like this IBIT should have been back to like 53 today, and obviously nowhere close. You know, was pretty red today. MSTR still really weak. It's actually starting to build out a bear flag. BMNR a little bit better. Let's see. Anything else that I need to discuss with you guys? Nothing is coming to the top of my brain. So I guess that's all I got, and I'll turn it over to you guys for questions. Not seeing anything in the VTF for the moment. Over on the YouTube from Cyril, sell-off in the Qs at the beginning of the day was quite brutal. What caused it? NVIDIA caused it. It was the sell down in the semiconductor names, and that was related to headlines out of Google, with AVGO. Basically, the thing to think about with NVIDIA is, and this is a little bit of what like Aswaf Damodaran talks about. NVIDIA, I don't think actually is very expensive in terms of its like forward PE multiple compared to history. It's just a matter of, can this hold as a $5 trillion stock, because it's a $5 trillion stock with the margins that it has, because it's in some ways the only game in town when it comes to like the full suite of every aspect of AI, or at least that's what NVIDIA themselves say. But everybody else is trying to catch up and trying to compete, right? AMD seems like they're becoming a little bit more of a competitor, and then we've heard about Google and Meta and Amazon all attempting to build their own chips. Well, we've been discussing a lot recently that Google seems to be like the real winner of the AI space, more than any of the other public companies that we really look at, more than Microsoft, which has its exposure to OpenAI, definitely more than Meta, which no one really knows even what the game plan is on Meta. But Meta's had a pretty nice 2-day bounce back now as well. So there's been a big boost to AVGO yesterday through today, and then further headlines out on Google this morning that has led to that relative strength, and I think is also showing that there's a little bit of competition that's increasing for NVIDIA. So that led to not necessarily like a DeepSeek moment where they sold down kind of everything related to AI, but I think it led to some strong rotation within these AI names that, hey, maybe there's some competition here for NVIDIA. And when you think about NVIDIA, the market cap on it is just so large that if you're going to get a NVIDIA move like this in the beginning of the day, just this heavy selling for 4 bars here, then it resumed to a new low, and it's after a gap down, it is definitely going to have an impact on the Qs. So I really think that these 2 5-minute bars lower here, why did it happen? What caused it is the direct question that you're asking me. It was NVIDIA's move lower and also AMD moving with it that I think created this opening sell down in the Qs, which was very viable for at least a shorter term scalp. It was a good little day trade there that we called out and put on. So hope that helps, Cyril. From Robert, have you heard about volatility clustering? I've never heard that term before. I'm sorry. Has anybody else on our team, anybody else here in the VTF ever heard the term volatility clustering? Because I have not. But Robert, if you got some information, I'd love to read about it, or otherwise I could, try to find some time to do some research on my own. There's Bill K for you. I had a feeling if anybody knew what volatility clustering is, it would be him. But it's not a term I'm familiar with at all. Low vol leads to low vol and high to high. Almost kind of like the trend is your friend. So it's just the concept that if there's... Sure, yeah, for sure. Send me a PDF. I'm happy to take a look. So it's just the concept that if there's lower vol in the market, it tends to kind of feed on itself to even lower volume, and then higher volume can be self-sustaining. Got it. Yeah. I mean, that makes logical sense to me with my limited understanding of how everything works in the volatility universe. But yeah, Robert, if you got a PDF that you can send over, I'll have some Thanksgiving reading. From you, Vixie Bull, when you say that a short or long was being called out in these afternoon meetings, is that in the actual chat or is it in the radio only? I can't listen to the radio most mornings. Only see the chat feed on my other monitor. For reference, I took the inside 5 and down this morning in NQ, so I did well, but would have loved to have catch the flip long. Sure. So for me, if I'm on the radio, if I am on the radio, then I'm just calling it out through the radio. I'm not both calling it out verbally and writing it down. If I'm not on the radio, then and I make call outs, then I do it through writing. So yeah, unfortunately, if you can't have the microphone on at certain points, I'm so busy trading so heavily and managing my swing positions at the open that sometimes I struggle to even speak for little periods of time. and I apologize for that, but obviously need to manage my positions. But I definitely just don't have the capacity at 9:32 to manage my positions, talk about my positions, and type my positions in at the same time. So yeah, I'm really calling them out verbally. Sorry. Over in the YouTube, hey Derrick, why did the Dow outperform today? Good question. I don't know. So the Dow is up 1.5%. So I don't think that the Dow necessarily outperformed, given that it's up 1.5%. So the first thing I would say is that I don't look at the Dow a ton. But if you're saying that the Dow outperformed because it outperformed the SPY, that is accurate. But look at what the RSP did. The RSP is up 1.4. So the Dow is in line with the RSP. So the Dow is in line with kind of the equal weighted S&P. So I think it's less that the Dow outperformed and more that the S&P and NASDAQ underperformed. And the reason, again, why they underperformed is because of NVIDIA and AMD. NVIDIA is just such a large market cap weighting. I forget what its actual percentage in the S&P is, but it's just NVIDIA alone is a large percentage of the S&P. Is it 8%? I might be wrong on that number, and sometimes I forget which one's the S&P and NASDAQ in terms of what percentage they are. But no matter what, it's a really large number. So I think that it was NVIDIA held down the market cap weighted indexes of the S&P and the NASDAQ, and then it was the RSP that was up big. It was the IWM. The IWM was really the biggest leader. The Russell's up 2.2%, and then the Dow was just kind of relatively the same as everything else that wasn't being weighed down by NVIDIA and AMD. So I hope that helps. Thanks for the question. Funny shark in the YouTube. Everyone loves a good funny shark. Oh man, I'm ready for the holiday weekend and a mental reset from a little vacation. I got to tell you guys, it's been a year. It's been quite the year. And I normally take a really big trip every year, and I kind of just didn't do that this year because I did that Teton hike. Then I literally last minute threw this vacation together for next week, just last weekend. Because like I got to go somewhere, even if I just do a shorter, quicker trip. But should be fun. Going to Colombia on Friday, flying to Medellin, and then Cartagena, and then I figured I would take a speedboat and drive my speedboat around Venezuela and see what happens. That's a joke, but in all seriousness, I hope there's no invasion of Venezuela while I'm in Colombia. That might not be great. Anybody else have any questions for today? Otherwise, it's a quick one. I mean, just a really strong market, really strong snapback. All right. Well, then this will be the last afternoon meeting until at some point next week when Josh and Brant and Pat do their best to take over for me. And there's Varun sneaking in some names. Meta and Bowen, like always. Yeah, hell of a snapback in Meta. Meta, I think, was benefited by the headline that was out this morning in the news. So it really overshot that 630 resistance area that I was looking at for a potential short. And I was interested in potentially shorting Meta as it got into that 630 area today. I kind of chose not to just because I got some other stuff on my plate. And I'm just trying to be more conservative right now, just in general, again, before I go out on a trip. But I still don't like Meta overall. If I was long it, I'd be selling into this up move. Today was so strong and it closed on highs. It could overshoot a little bit further, especially if the market continues. This thing could get into the 640s. But this is still like my least favorite, or one of my least favorite Mag 7 stocks to own right now. And yeah, Boeing finally gave that oversold snapback a little bit. I mean, the market was so strong. I'd be surprised if it didn't. And there were still a bunch of names out there that were red today. A lot of the meme names. I know like RGTI is starting to hold in a little bit better, and I think it had a strong close, but this was still negative on the day. But most things were able to snap back. So Boeing starting to snap back a little bit. And look, this thing could easily bounce back to that 80 EMA on the daily or even overshoot that. But I just don't think that either of those are in the names that you want to be long. I don't think you want to be long relative weakness right now, and Meta and Boeing are certainly where the relative weakness is. All right. Well, on that note, I will wrap it up for the evening. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow.